It was over a month after Percy's accident, and the engines had no more encounters. Neither did Percy. But Percy was still worried about what James had told him about the ghost engine. But a month later, he was going to find out, but he didn't want to. But a month after the incident, it all changed. One morning, Thomas, Henry, Gordon, Edward, James, Emily and Percy were waiting for their drivers and firemen to come so they could go to work. As soon as Percy's driver and fireman came, he left in a hurry. "What was that all about?" said James. "I think he's a bit upset," said Emily. "Don't you mean scared?" said Edward. "Scared out of his wheels. Scaredy engine," said Gordon. "Oi," said Thomas. "Yeah," said Henry. "Mind your own business." Said Gordon. "Anyway, I've got to go to work now, so I'll see you later." What have you got today, Thomas?" "I've got to go to the industrial area or the barrel depot and collect some barrels of ice cream and take it to the chocolate factory, to the ice cream factory." "That sounds good," he said. Just then, Sir Topham Hatt arrived. "Hello, everyone," he said. "You look tired, sir," said Emily. "What happened?" "There's been yet another accident at the barrel depot and the shipping company." "What happened?" said Thomas. "Diesel was puffing down the line with some treasure and hay, stealing it, and then Mater, the tow truck from Radiator Springs, he's just gone and bashed into him, which has sent Diesel into the Sodor Shipping Company and Mater facing backwards next to the barrel depot. Speaking of which, I must go. I'll see you later, engines." And with that, he walked away. Looks like I'll be stuck at the barrel depot for a while. "Anyway, I'm off to work," he said, and he puffed away. "You know, you lot should do some work for a change too," said Edward and Emily. "We are on strike," said Gordon, Henry and James. "Haven't you been on strike before?" said Edward. "Because the engines who went on strike were called Gordon, Henry, and—" "I think we've heard enough," interrupted James. "Speaking of which, I'm off. I was not on strike then, and I was on strike then, but I'm not anymore." "Which way are you going, James?" said Emily. "I've got to go into the airport. See ya." And with that, he puffed into the airport, and the door shut behind him. Then Gordon and the other engines puffed away. That night, Percy was on his way back from the mail, but he kept a sharp lookout just in case the ghost tried ramming him away. Percy puffed on. The crane was hard at work, or not, as the case may be. He was sleeping on the job, which isn't what you expect to find a crane, a professional crane like him, sleeping on the job. But regardless, Percy came along. And he went into the mine once again. But a month later, but a month before, he remembered that he'd come across this ghost and he didn't want it to happen again. Then 2 trucks flew and came into his line. "Ah!" cried Percy, and he bounced back. But then he came out with 2 trucks. One had derailed and was full of scrap. Ha! And he bashed them away. Must be that someone. Maybe it must be James playing a joke on me. But he was wrong. Then, as he was on the point, the engine smashed into him. "Well done, Pinchy, we did it!" Percy knew that voice. "Diesel 10! Is that you?" "Of course it's me. And you're not going to catch me!" And he pushed his way in and then managed to derail himself, and he raced out of the tunnel. Just then, a truck flew down the line and stopped Diesel 10 in his tracks. "What's happened?" he cried as he was bashed into the support. "Diesel 10!" came the voice. And in, towards Diesel 10, came Thomas the Tank Engine himself. "I'm taking you to Sir Topham Hatt," he said. "Come on," said Diesel 10. Percy decided to join them. And then he puffed to the edge. He managed to get turned around and couple to Diesel 10, and they took him back. The next morning, when Percy and Thomas came in buffer to buffer with Diesel 10, Sir Topham Hatt was waiting. "So, Diesel 10, is it true? Have you been the one causing confusion and delay for Percy?" "No, sir." Thomas bumped him hard. "All right," he said, "I confess. Yes, it was me, sir." "Well," said Sir Topham Hatt, "you're to pull Percy's mail for the rest of the month. Do I make myself clear?" "Yes, sir," said Diesel 10 sadly. Just then, the airport door opened and James came back. "So did you find the phantom ghost train, or whatever I called it?" "There was no ghost engine," said Percy. "It was Diesel 10. I can explain." Sir Topham Hatt came over. "James, was it you? Were you the one causing confusion and delay as well?" Sorry. I'm very disappointed in you. James, after that accident's cleaned up, you will do Diesel's jobs. Do I make myself clear?" "Yes, sir," said James. James and Diesel 10 slunk next to each other. They had had a very traumatising experience, but they now know never to mess with Thomas and Percy ever again. So, said Thomas, said Percy, I think this case of the Misty Island truck rampager is closed. Don't you mean the shed is closed? Said Edward. Ah! And the engines laughed. But Diesel 10 and James remained respectively silent. But Percy was glad to know that the case of the Misty Island truck rampager was at an end.